welcome to another episode of Critters and Cultures, where we explore the deep connection between cultural diversity and animal welfare. This episode of Critters and Cultures is brought to you by Maddie's Fund, a family foundation that believes in a world where every pet has a loving home and every family has the support they need to stay together. Inspired by a beloved miniature schnauzer named Maddie, the fund is transforming animal welfare through innovation, education, and equity. Whether it's funding groundbreaking foster programs, supporting community collaboration grants, or offering free online learning for animal care professionals, Maddie's Fund is investing in the people and the ideas that move us forward. They also believe that inclusion matters because real change happens when we uplift every voice in this work. Learn more, get involved, or start learning today at maddiesfund.org. That's MADDIESFUND.org. And I will always say thanks to Maddie's. I also am going to thank the BIPOC and Animal Wellbeing Collective. So many individuals identify as Black and Indigenous people of color in this space of animal welfare and veterinary medicine. And the collective is, for short, they call themselves the collective. The collective is a community of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color connected through the care, work, and advocacy in the animal well-being space. The collective creates opportunities for healing, for support, and connection through weekly support calls, collaborative small groups, and a private message space where members can connect, share resources, and support each other in real time. I'm also a part of the collective, so shameless plug there, an amazing organization. To learn more about joining the community, offering support, or finding support yourself, you can visit BIPOCcollective.com. That's BIPOC collective.com. Here with me today, I have three amazing guests, and it's so good to have you guys here.
We're so happy to be here.
Incredibly good to have you guys here. We are in New York City shooting this episode, right? And you guys are going to tell me so much about the work that you guys do in New York. We're in Queens, baby, right? All right. So I'm going to do your introductions and then we'll get into kind of the work that you do and how you guys tie this all together, okay? First up, we have Victoria Koulouris. Victoria is a lifelong New Yorker whose love for cats started when she was just 7 years old. She is the co-founder of LIC Feral Feeders and the heart of so much of the TNR, which is trap, neuter, and return, and rescue work that happens across Long Island City. So her decades in Queens all shape the way she sees community and care. Victoria brings history, grit, and a deep love for her neighborhood and outdoor cats.
That's so true.
Okay, I'm so glad. Victoria, before we get into your work, tell us, how did cats choose you?
They chose me at the age of 7.
Okay.
When I stepped outside onto the porch of the cabin that my family was renting for 1 month in Wading River, Long Island. 2 little kittens were sitting there looking up at me saying, "Take me."
Aww.
And that began the love affair.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait to dive into it. Next we have Jannatul Ahmed. Jan, otherwise known as Jan, right? Jan is a Bengali Muslim New Yorker, born and raised in Astoria, and now the director of operations at LIC Feral Feeders. Her journey started during the pandemic, fostering kittens during a time when the world was upside down, and it opened the door to a much bigger calling. Jan advocates fiercely for the immigrants and diaspora communities in Queens, many of whom are being pushed out by rising costs and gentrification. Her perspective on care, displacement, and community is one that every city needs to hear. Jan, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So, we were talking right before this camera started rolling, and you said, you can call me Jannatul or you can call me Jan.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
That's a great question. I realized that would be very hard for people to pronounce my full first name. Not a lot of people are familiar with the name itself, how the pronunciation, should correctly be done. And ultimately, I realized that I kind of just ended up using the shorter version of my name, or a more, I would say, westernized version, because it was just easier to go with that in the moment. And I think as my participation in the rescue community grew, I kind of just stuck to that. It's a very weird dichotomy almost, because I see how I'm giving into this, I'm kind of like erasing the cultural aspect of my full name, but at the same time, I'm also just like owning it, owning the shortened version of my name. I don't think that when I text people and I'm like, hey, I'm Jan with LIC Feral Feeders, I don't think they picture this.
Yeah.
So it's really fun seeing their reactions live. That's me.
And finally, we have Raiana Khan, a community cat coordinator with LIC Feral Feeders and a dedicated rescuer in New York City. Raiana is a powerful example of what happens when someone steps into the community work that already lives in their spirit. Her hands-on TNR work, her cultural perspective, and her advocacy for outdoor cats bring such a grounded voice to this conversation. Raiana, thank you for being here with us. All right, so I'm going to ask you your icebreaker question. What's something about working with community cats that people would never expect?
I think a lot of people see it as like you're always dealing with cute, friendly cats. that are like, oh, it's just you find them, you take them to the vet, you bring them inside, they're getting adopted, you know? A lot of working with outdoor cats in New York City is either with feral cats or with sick or injured cats, which is a lot less like picturesque than people would imagine. So you have to deal with a lot more heartbreak because not every cat can be brought inside, not every cat can be treated like until they're cured. You know, some cats have illnesses that will go long past, you know, the amount of time and money that you can spend into them. And there's so many cats that you can never really, you know, give each and every one the attention that you feel like they will deserve, like you would with your own pet. But I feel like a lot of people just see like, oh, you're into cat rescue, you're playing with cats and getting them adopted, and that's it. But there's a lot more behind that.
Yeah, I mean, I always envisioned cat rescue being like getting in a truck and, you know, having these crates, you know, getting a net, right, and catching the kitties. And I think that's a great segue into the work that you guys really do with LIC Feral Feeders. So I guess I'll ask Victoria, tell me, you know, how did LIC Feral Feeders actually start? And what is it that you guys do?
We started off just feeding cats, the community cats in our neighborhood. I started feeding cats and discovered, as you probably saw in the article, that other people in the area were also feeding those same cats. We decided to organize so that we weren't overfeeding. And then we realized that there were more than the cats that we were feeding in this one particular location. There were cats over there and cats over there. And little by little, we started doing colony management.
Okay, tell me about that. What is colony for those that are listening?
A colony is basically a group of cats that live together in one location, whether it's a garden, the back of someone's house, a garage, a parking garage, an empty lot, a construction site, you name it. If there's a place that's not inhabited by people, cats will come.
Yeah, and so I didn't mean to cut you off, that the colony of cats is what what LIC Feral Feeders is responsible for, right? Or how does that work?
Right. So we started organizing other feeders, looking for volunteers, people who are also cat lovers who wanted to feed cats or who already were feeding cats regularly, and just started implementing some best practices. For instance, you know, don't just put a can of food down on the ground and expect the cat to fish the food out of it. Put it in a dish, and then pick up those dishes when you're done, so that the people who own that property where the cat's hanging out don't get upset that there's cats living on their property.
You trap, neuter, and return, and then what happens after that?
Well, the hope is that those colonies eventually shrink.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal. We don't want cats living out in the street. The goal is all cats should be inside cats.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, there is such an incredibly huge homeless cat situation, and that's really what we've been tackling, and so many other people in rescue are tackling. But the goal is not to have those cats outdoors. We don't want any cats. You know,
I mean, is it okay to add on to that? Yeah. I was just going to say that I also think that considering LIC specifically, it's an issue because of how much vehicular activity there is. We've had colony cats show up, you know, unfortunately deceased because they're hit by cars. I think Victoria's had most of the experience dealing with these types of situations. LIC is a very, very development-heavy location too. So these blocks that these cats are calling home for like years on end, suddenly there's a new construction project happening. Their habitat is gone. They're being displaced. They vanish. They disappear. There have been cats showing up covered in wet cement. And it's just very, I think it's, you know, important to understand that we're not going to be able to control what developers want to do in the area. But what we can do is ensure that these cats that LIC is their home too, right? Different parts of Queens have very similar issues. But I think for us, specifically considering this hyperlocal issue, it's always on our minds, like, how can we help these cats live the rest of their lives in a place of safety, sanctuary, and just like ensure they're not succumbing to illness due to these environmental hazards, for example.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you guys also have a foster program set up that works with LIC?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say that we want to keep up with our programming, want to make sure that we're focusing on TNR and being able to rescue friendly cats and kittens and get them indoors as we're able to. So in preparation for that, we started reaching out to people in the community and building this foster care network. And thankfully, I would say for the past 2.5-ish years, we've kind of grown into mainly just a foster-based rescue for the rescue portion of our work. And it's been incredible. I think that obviously since my journey started as a foster parent, I've seen the value that foster homes play in just like opening up extra space for intake. But now that, you know, we experienced this lack of space on our end, seeing how community members who are just straight up volunteers that are taking the time, space, and money out of their own like capacity to provide some space and temporary care for a kitten or cat that's in need of indoor placement. I think it's just helped us value that role and relationship a lot more. So
if anything, I would say that being a foster-based rescue now has made us realize how much better off these cats really are when they're placed in foster homes as opposed to staying in a big crate
For like weeks on end.
Yeah, that's kind of cruel. I mean, it's been acceptable for a lot of rescue organizations. I mean, I can think of a couple.
Where are these crates?
Right. So when I had HQ, we had rooms full of very large crates where cats were staying until they got adopted.
Oh, wow.
And it's just not ideal. It's not an ideal situation for them. It kind of stunts their ability to be socialized.
Yeah.
Whereas when you bring a cat or kittens to a foster home, then they're becoming socialized. They're learning to be in the presence of humans on a
People.
regular basis.
Yeah.
Right, and they don't mind being pet.
And they're
right?
much more adoption
Much more
ready.
adoptable. Yeah. And every time, we have someone that brings in a feral cat, I'm always like, dun, 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 because a feral cat comes in and they're ready to climb the walls and jump the fence and do all of these things. It's really good that you're able to, get at least the cats that you visualize as appear to be friendly into home sooner, right? Than later. I just found out that there might be up to 1 million outdoor free roaming cats that live alongside us. 1 million. I don't know how many of that number is in Queens per se, but let's talk about the communities. Where are we finding these cats? I have lived in New York.
Right.
I mean,
Raiana
where
can
are we
speak to all
finding
that.
these cats? Because-
Everywhere. Everywhere.
I mean, let's talk about it. I grew up in New York. Okay. I left New York when I was like 15. And so now I'm a Georgia girl, but I don't remember seeing tons of cats in my neighborhood. So what might that say?
One, it depends on the neighborhoods. Like more developed places, they're probably not going to be out and about like on the streets because of foot traffic and cars and like scary noises and stuff like that, especially in the daytime when most people are going to be out because cats want to avoid people and noises and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if they are there, they're like hiding in places where there's not a lot of people, possibly not a lot of noise, like undercover where they can go if there's like, weather issues and stuff like that, like to hide away from rain. So they might not be in places where people are going to be seeing them all the time. But in other places where like it's the overpopulation is more obvious, it could be in like you said, garages, backyards, gardens, like on the street if you know where to look and at what times, like when the sun is setting or before the sun rises is when a lot of cats are out and about because there's less people on the street. And it also depends on like if it's trash day, there's going to be cats like, that are hungry looking for food in trash bins and stuff like that. So you might see them more often then. I know I've lived in Jamaica pretty much all my life. They are everywhere. But when I was a kid, I didn't
Now we're
really
talking about
notice
Jamaica
them.
Queens.
Yes, Jamaica Queens.
Okay. All right.
They were everywhere, but I didn't really notice them until like my friend was also into cats and she started playing with them and hanging out. And that's when I kind of started taking a notice, and they would come out at specific times like to eat and around when people weren't there. So
Yeah.
if you know where to look, you'll find them all the time, but it just depends on like, the time of day and which neighborhood you're in.
And cats will go where the food is. So if you befriend the feeders in the area, you'll know where these cat colonies are.
Wow. And cats, they're induced ovulators, right? So the females need to be induced in order to get pregnant, right? And then after that, their gestation period, they stay pregnant for 60 days on average. And they could have 8, 9 cats. And so these mamas are just pushing out kittens on a constant, right? Which
Every
is
couple
why,
months.
say it again?
Every couple months.
Every couple months, right?
Multiple times a year.
And so do we think that TNR is the best way to kind of stop that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, she's looking at the
Absolutely.
camera and saying it.
It's TNR is at the core of what we practice because I would say not just like a neighborhood or a borough or a city where resources are so limited, but also just seeing these cats go through this suffering cycle of continued birthing and then death that unfortunately is affiliated with, kittens being born outdoors and not having the proper resources or shelter or things that would set them up for success to live long, healthy lives. I think knowing that we have the skills to trap these cats, get them vaccinated, get them fixed, and, release them into areas where they will be monitored, where they will be fed, and where, a lot of cats they may just prefer to live outdoors.
Right,
Not all of them
right.
want to come indoors.
Right.
And, dealing with the spectrum of not just like behaviors that these cats have, but also financial, spatial situations that feeders and caretakers have. I think it's a lot to coordinate, but it's also what we're very passionate about. Because
What part of that are you most passionate about?
me personally,
Yeah.
I think learning the stories behind not just the cats, but also their caretakers.
Yeah, and tell me about, I like the fact that you use that word caretaker, right? Because my first thought is, I have clients that come into me and they're like, I have an outdoor cat. My cat would never do well indoors, right? And sometimes I'm like, well, we talked about, them being injured or having cat fights and all of this stuff. what do you tell a community of people who believe in kind of this community care of taking care of these cats? I had an uncle, and shame, I have to, like, I'm so shamed right now.
Is he going to listen to this?
I hope so. But he lives in Brooklyn, and has a yard full of colony cats, and him and his wife take a lot of pride naming them and saying how cute the kittens are, and like, what do you say to people like that?
Yeah, that's difficult. Very often people don't want to hear that it's not the right thing to do by them. But believe it or not, eventually people do come around, because if they have seen this mama cat birth litter after litter after litter, eventually they're going to see her decline. And then the recognition comes. Oh, yeah, this is kind of tough on her. And that last litter, none of them survived. So they're kind of self-educating by witnessing what happens. We're not always successful. It's painful when that happens, but we try our best. We try to educate, and offer our assistance. I would say that the majority of people are willing to listen, but there's always some that just don't believe us. They don't believe in
spaying and neutering, right? Like some cultures are like it's a natural thing. We're gonna breed out here and let them be free roaming cats, and we'll take care of them.
I think a lot of people also tend to just like default to applying, I guess, human ideologies to animals as well. And that's where it can get a little difficult. But I think that I would also say that working with the team that we have has taught me personally how to communicate with people and try and at least to establish trust, so that, what's our end goal? Our end goal is to help these cats and, by proxy, help their caretakers too.
Right.
So being reactive and like trying to, immediately be like, no, you should be doing this, this and that. That's not going to help, because these people have been probably taking care of these cats for several months, if not years. And they're like, I know my cats best. Why are you telling me what to do? You don't even live here. And like, we totally understand that. And
how do you build trust with caretakers?
I feel like Raiana should talk about that, because you've done a lot for your community in that sense.
I've had, since I started taking care of cats, a lot of people.
And I'm sorry, I'm just going to say this.
Yes.
New York City is a multi-diverse city, right? I mean, you're getting people from all cultural backgrounds, coming in from other countries, right? And sometimes, applying how cats were treated in their country to how cats are treated here in New York City, right? How do you connect with those people?
So a lot of people over the years since I started, like, have seen me taking care of the cats out on the street. So they come to me as like a neighborhood cat lady to ask questions about, like, how to get their cats the care that they need, how to like get their cats spayed and neutered, like especially through the ASPCA, and like questions about their cats, about their health, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the people in my neighborhood specifically are like South Asian or from the same community as me. Okay. So I was raised in America, so like I have, like the American spay and neuter and TNR and that kind of education about cats. But my parents are from Bangladesh, so I kind of have like a look.
Where are your parents from?
Bangladesh.
Okay.
So I kind of have a look into how they think about animals, and especially cats there. So I know kind of how to connect, because that's the same thing that I had to deal with my mom when I started to rescue.
You've got to tell me that story. What do your parents think about cats? Maybe similar to what my parents think about cats, but let's see.
So my dad is okay with animals, but he doesn't want to be the one doing the caretaking.
Okay.
And my mom, she doesn't really like animals that much. She's more like, take care of yourself, like further your education, like, work towards a better job, that kind of stuff. Like, why are you spending your time on animals who can't do something for you? You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
they can do so much, Mom.
Yeah. Like she didn't understand. She's never had pets when she was younger, the connection that you could have with an animal. So before, when I was younger and I would ask for a pet, she was always like, no, we can't. I'm not going to take care of an animal in our house. She also had like misconceptions that they're like messy and they like, leave fur everywhere and they need a lot of space and take a lot of time and energy. That is not necessarily true for every cat. It depends.
I love the fact that you said that, you recognize that a lot of the ways that we care for pets obviously we're in the West, right? We're in the Western world. It comes off of white dominant norms, right? And so you having parents from a different background kind of makes it a little bit easier for you to relate to your community of people with different backgrounds. And in a way, you talked about building trust. In a way, it kind of like makes that trust a little bit easier, a little bit faster. Do you find that?
Yes, because I think that I know how to like connect with them like in an empathetic way about their views, because some people are like, they feel like they'll be judged, about the way that they take care of their animals or about their opinions about their cats.
Do we think that is a reason why people maybe don't go to the veterinarian as
Definitely.
much, or
Yes.
don't go to the, I mean, I know lack of resources is one thing, right? If you're not getting healthcare for yourself
Yes.
and you're not getting food for yourself, right? You still care about animals, but they're not going to be your priority, right? So I do think that, and even just as a veterinarian, when I have clients that come in that are African American or Black, you know, it's like a sigh of relief when they see that I walk in the door. Like, I did nothing. I could be the most ridiculous doctor there is, but they're like, whew, you know, it immediately like takes that trust to a different level. We just build it a little bit faster, which is why it's so amazing to see diverse people doing animal care work, right? Because there's a reason. That's why we talk about increasing diversity in vet med and animal welfare, right? Because you represent, or at least in part represent, what your community is. So I think that that is really good.
This episode of Critters and Cultures is brought to you by Maddie's Fund, a family foundation that believes in a world where every pet has a loving home and every family has the support they need to stay together. Inspired by a beloved miniature schnauzer named Maddie, the fund is transforming animal welfare through innovation, education, and equity. Whether it's funding groundbreaking foster programs, supporting community collaboration grants, or offering free online learning for animal care professionals, Maddie's Fund is investing in the people and the ideas that move us forward. They also believe that inclusion matters because real change happens when we uplift every voice in this work. Learn more, get involved, or start learning today at maddiesfund.org. That's MADDIESFUND.org. And I will always say thanks to Maddie's. I also am going to thank the BIPOC and Animal Wellbeing Collective. So many individuals identify as Black and Indigenous people of color in this space of animal welfare and veterinary medicine. And the collective is, for short, they call themselves the collective. The collective is a community of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color connected through the care, work, and advocacy in the animal well-being space. The collective creates opportunities for healing, for support, and connection through weekly support calls, collaborative small groups, and a private message space where members can connect, share resources, and support each other in real time. I'm also a part of the collective, so shameless plug there, an amazing organization. To learn more about joining the community, offering support, or finding support yourself, you can visit BIPOCcollective.com. That's BIPOC collective.com.
What could LIC Feral Feeders use? I mean, what would make, like, what are we asking for here?
I
Like,
think
do you guys do fundraising, and do you have a budget that you'd like to get to by the year?
that's a great question. I think that for us, we recognize that we've been expanding, and with growth comes more and more requests for assistance.
Yeah.
So I think what is most helpful is having monetary funding available for any, like, for example, emergency cases that we would need to take on. If there is like an injured feral cat in the neighborhood that needs like an amputation, for example, like that's going to require time, space, money, all of it. And while we can figure out certain components, having the community's assistance and at least fundraising, like let's say you don't have the space to foster, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Maybe you aren't comfortable trapping cats in, the dead of the night. Totally understandable. Like, we're happy to do that work. What's really inspiring is seeing that as we're growing, more people want to help us help cats in our community.
Yeah.
So receiving that type of funding, but also in-kind donations, whether that means it's cat food for outdoor cat colonies that people or team members in different parts of Queens are taking care of, kitten food for so many foster camps that we've got right now, things that will help us disinfect equipment and supplies. There are different types of, food and materials that I think come in handy on a day-to-day basis. And ultimately, it also helps us expand our programming, because if we're able to offer these supplies to fosters who may not have the financial capacity to, always provide for a foster placement, it helps us help another cat or two. So I would say that monetary funding and in-kind donations are the top two things right now.
We do have a link, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
On our link tree, you're going to be able to find basically 3 different donation platforms where you could donate through PayPal, Venmo, or Give Butter.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And Victoria, what about your day-to-day? Just in brief, what does it look like?
I'm going to tell you about that, but I also want to add to what Jannatul said, which is that we could use a car, we could use a van.
Oh, wow.
Big time.
Yeah.
Because we want to trap more cats, and we are restricted by the size of my car. I drive a smart car, so I can only trap a couple of cats at a time.
Most of
we
our
don't always have the use of Jan's parents'
family car.
Yes.
So yeah, we could use a car. We could use a big holding space. That would be amazing.
Yep.
So anybody out there listening, do you have a big?
I love how you're talking to the camera.
I was going to
would
say,
love to use your garage.
if we're talking about like big dreams that LIC Feral Feeders as a group has, a cat sanctuary for our community cats that are still, outdoors and could use a space to
But
live
what
the
does
rest
that
of
look
their lives.
like? Like someone like me who has
Yeah.
no idea. Okay, a sanctuary. What does that mean for someone that could help provide that?
Absolutely.
If we had an indoor-outdoor space, that would be ideal. So something like, it looks like a park, maybe a smaller sized park, a place where cats could roam outdoors safely, where they can't, escape, with some kind of building in it so that we could bring them indoors when weather is bad, where we could also have a holding space for cats before and after their surgeries, or where we could hold cats that have medical issues, where we could hold
see the
educational
vision.
sessions
Yeah.
for the community, where people could come and pick up pet food who
Yeah.
are running short on money and they need to provide for their family pet. I mean, there's so many ways that we could help the community if we had
The space.
sanctuary.
Also a space for the feral cats that are disabled or like have chronic symptoms that can't go back outside for whatever reason,
For those
and
who are
also
being
can't live
displaced.
inside. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about displacement. I know we're jumping all over, but we're talking about displacement from gentrification. Are we talking about displacement
It's
from
all related.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
You were really strong about wanting to chat about this. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, I'm in Queens, right? And I made this, we booked this podcast studio and I thought it was going to be relatively close. And I found out today that Queens is much larger than what I expected. And there's a lot that goes into that. I know you're specifically, Jan, passionate about this.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So I guess I want to start by saying that my journey in cat rescue was actually fueled by a local city council campaign that I worked for, particularly surrounded around the issue of affordable housing here in Astoria, Queens. And ultimately, through some more campaign members, I learned about, the overpopulation crisis and the need for assistance within the cat rescue world, and that's how I got involved. But I just think it's a little bit, I guess, meta in a way, in which how now with a lot of the initiatives that we're focusing on at LIC Feral Feeders, it goes back to a lot of what our human neighbors are experiencing, and the cats are experiencing the same thing. So when you consider gentrification, the development of all these luxury buildings in Long Island City, in Astoria now, and other parts of Queens too, even in Jamaica, which is, just so people know, about a 30-ish minute drive out from Astoria LIC, there's a lot that's happening that ultimately is making it more and more difficult for longtime residents who are of like lower income backgrounds, who are of immigrant backgrounds, who may not have, salaries that are over $100,000, who may be supporting a family with multiple kids and may not have the capacity to live in a high rise. All these types of peoples, I would say, are now experiencing difficulty in keeping up with rising rent prices. They're being pushed out. More people are coming in that aren't necessarily, I would say, native to the not just the community, but contributing to the identity of the community. And at the same time, simultaneously, the cats are also being displaced from their longtime home. So, we try not to, I guess, compare behaviorally, at least, what we impose on humans onto cats. But when you consider it in terms of like population patterns and changes in population patterns, I feel like there is overlap when it comes to these cats having to move out from their homes and people of less advantaged backgrounds having to do the same. Yeah.
Anything else on that?
Sorry.
One question that I have for you guys is, I like myth busting. I
Yeah.
like breaking down stereotypes. What is something that you think the listeners and viewers should hear? I feel like all of you have something right now at the top of your head, right? Or maybe not. But if you do, what's a myth about community cat care or feral cats or something that you'd like to debunk right now?
I would say that a lot of people in America in general, I feel like, think that city governments or whatever are taking care of animal populations a lot more than they actually are. There's not a lot of budget set aside for the animals in New York City even. And even the budget that is set aside, like ASPCA and all that kind of stuff, like the city agencies, they're not doing as much for the animals as like independent people who are also doing other jobs that are not getting paid for their animal care. Like most of, I feel like, the work being done for cats in New York City is by independent rescuers or people who don't even call themselves rescuers, but like are caretakers for the cats on the streets.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. The city is not helping.
It's
Not as much as it
complicated.
should.
You consider the different types of like animal welfare groups that are in the city, at least. You've got the municipal shelter, which ACC Victoria just mentioned. You've got the ASPCA, which is a private nonprofit, much larger. And then, larger private rescue groups and then smaller private rescue groups and then independent rescuers. So there are multiple types of people and groups at play, but not everyone has the same ability to assist. Not everyone receives the same type of funding. And, that funding may just not be provided or available. I think one important thing to mention is that this was the first year that any funding was granted by the city council for anything related to spay and neuter. It was the first year that $500,000 was provided to fund a pilot high volume, low cost spay and neuter program through Flatbush Cats. And it feels like it's very late that this is happening. So
we're hopeful too, though, right?
100%.
That maybe obviously the impact you're going to be able to see, and hopefully that money will come continuously, right, to other organizations, smaller organizations as well, right? Yeah. What about any myths? Did you guys think about any? No. We can skip that question. I like myth busting. Who would you guys consider are the unsung heroes in this story? I mean, I feel like you guys are the unsung heroes, like seriously. But you're on the mic. We're all on the mic. But whose story might we not hear?
I can think of. I mean, I'm thinking of Martha right now. I think the unsung heroes are the women out there who feed cats relentlessly, no matter what, no matter the weather, no matter whether they're sick. They drag themselves to feed their colonies, and sometimes multiple colonies, and sometimes they walk long distances. And very often they don't even have the money to put food on their own table, yet they're spending it to go out and buy food to feed these animals. Those are the unsung heroes. Those are the ones that are reaching out to us saying, hey, one of the cats in my colony is sick, can you help it? Or a new cat showed up, she's pregnant, can you help it?
These are people who, you won't see on social media. You won't be seeing these, cool trapping videos of, or feeding videos even. But they're there every single day, and they will be there whether people are donating food to them or not. They show up for the cats. And a lot of these stories go untold, which is why I feel like what I had answered with earlier, saying that learning the stories of these cats and then their caretakers also is what I really appreciate about the work we do. I think it just has helped open my eyes to seeing how many different ways people, sacrifice parts of their lives just to help cats.
Is there a story that stuck with you?
I was going to answer more personally for the question that you just asked. Just because Victoria has most of the experience with, working with our local feeders. I'm not a feeder and I don't really work with a lot of feeders, but to answer the question about unsung heroes, I was actually going to say for me, it would be my parents. Kind of similar. I know, surprising,
Actually,
right? But kind of similar to what Raiana was saying. Yeah. Oh, our parents have gotten to know each other very well now, and they're very similar.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if we have time, I'd love to talk about kind of the cultural, aspect of my story too, and then answer that question at the same time. So I would say that my passion for wanting to own a cat started back in the second or third grade, where I would just go to the Scholastic book fairs and buy all those books.
Good old Scholastic
I know,
book
right?
fair.
How to take care of a cat. I still have the very first one that I bought. So ever since then, it's been a dream of mine to, get a pet cat or a kitten. And it got to the point where I'd just talk about it. My parents would be like, okay, eventually one day. And it never happened. So I had to make it happen for myself. Yeah. So after college graduation during the pandemic, I brought 2 foster kittens home without telling them. And at first they were like, these aren't ours, right? But that's also why I was like, let me just start with foster care and not dive into adoption, because I don't know how they're going to react.
Yep.
Right.
And I think it was a full 2 months that my mom was scared to touch the kittens even. Even though they'd be climbing all over.
Are we talking about baby kittens?
No, not baby babies, but like 12 weeks old. That's
all right.
Still,
they're still small.
They're small, and it was a pair of them. They kept each other busy. They were fully socialized. It was great. So kind of seeing that evolution over the past, now it's been almost 5 years since I started fostering, seeing them evolve into, caretakers for not just my current resident cats, but my foster cats now too. I think I just feel very appreciative of them incorporating this aspect of my life into their lives as well, because I wouldn't be able to be, trapping cats outdoors if I didn't have people that I could rely on at home to take care of the cats indoors. My parents bottle fed a bottle baby for the first time this summer, which I was like, I did not think that would happen. It's so funny. My mom was FaceTiming me, and she's like, "Is this how? Am I doing this correctly?"
That's so great. I love it. Yeah.
It was for cream puff. But I feel like I'm just so proud of them for becoming more both tolerant and accepting. They will always have things to say, but that's okay. I think that's part of the culture too. Growing up as the child of South Asian immigrants, I think that there's always the pressure to do well in this country. They moved halfway across the world, changed their lives to, you know, for the betterment of their families. I totally get it. So when they see, you know, their daughters spending hours and hours catching cats outdoors, going around to different foster homes, vaccinating other kittens
For
I'm
free,
sure for
unpaid.
free, yeah, unpaid.
For free.
I'm sure they're like, why are you like this?
Right.
So
What happened to
what
my
did we do
daughter?
wrong?
Yeah,
What
right.
did we do
Yeah,
wrong?
exactly.
No, you
so,
did everything right. Like, she's amazing.
So seeing them, you know, kind of melt whenever a new foster kitten joins the home, even if I don't tell them about it beforehand, I think I'm just like really grateful that they're kind of, you know, my heroes in helping me do this volunteer work outside of my paid job as well. And one thing that I'm very, very happy about is my very second foster kitten was a fully black kitten, and there was a lot of like negative stigma, both like culturally, religiously. I think it gets very like it's a blurry area. It's a gray area at
the black
times.
cat,
Yeah,
right?
the black
We
cat.
hear
You
about the
know,
black cat
stigma.
all the time, yeah.
My mom would be really scared and say like, we're never gonna be able to adopt a black cat. You know, it's bad luck.
Yeah.
We have a black cat now.
Oh, good. Oh,
And
they have really evolved.
They have evolved
Yeah.
for sure. And Forrest, my resident black kitty, has chosen my mom as her favorite person.
Wow.
And even though I'm kind of offended and a little jealous, I'm very grateful and I'm happy because my mom, like whenever, even like when new foster kittens join the household, she's like, Forrest, let's go over here. They'll figure it out. And I'm just like, oh, so we're possessive about Forrest
love
now.
this.
So like,
Yeah.
you know, seeing them, and I'm sure like with like your mom even now, the fact that she's able to be okay with us setting up a whole holding space in her own backyard.
Yes.
I'm just like, I don't know if my mom would be okay with that far of, you know, a mission that we were to go
We'll
on.
test it, won't we?
No, exactly, right. I've got my plans. I've got that in
We got
mind.
plans, Mom.
So I just
Sorry.
feel grateful seeing how, like, you know, immigrant parents that may not have had pets indoors, like my mom and dad, for example, they always talk about how they would see, like, cats and other animals around, but never, like, inside a home permanently, 24/7. Like, in a more, I guess, a little bit more of a rural area. It was just more common for them to be around the houses and, you know, they'd be fed by people, but not necessarily, like, taken care of inside of the house 24/7. So seeing them so late into their lives be able to change that, I guess, mindset and like practice, I'm grateful for that. So yeah.
I am grateful for your parents as well,
Yeah,
right? Because then you
sure.
can do all the amazing work that you guys
Yeah.
are doing. And it's funny because I don't even think your parents really understand the benefit and what the cats are doing for them.
True. I will say that I think that for me and a lot of my peers and friends who have also fostered and adopted after I started, you know, getting involved in cat rescue, it has made such a big improvement in not just like mental health for myself personally, but like the relationship at home. Because things can get tense easily living in a small space, you know? It's like 4 adults in a 2-bedroom apartment. We're going to have opinions and things are going to get tense. But like, I think the cats are always a grounding factor, bringing us together, easing things up. Because they're innocent. They don't judge. They'll love everyone. And, you know, we're able to kind of take that energy in and radiate that continuously. So I think you're absolutely right.
And even the things that we don't see.
Yeah.
Health benefits, like you said, mental health,
yep.
right? Alzheimer's, right? Anxiety, all of these things that, you know, pets, our parents, my parents are also Caribbean, from Jamaica, or not also Caribbean, but my parents are also immigrants to this country and just have the same viewpoints where it's like, we're used to these community cats or even community dogs and like, the dog is in the kitchen, you know, oh my gosh, the cat jumps off the counter, they can't eat the food, the hairs, all of these things. And then you kind of see them, like these tough parents of ours, soften.
Yeah, right.
You know, and get really mushy.
Yeah.
And really experience that love and that connection that they didn't get a chance to experience. And so I think it's a beautiful thing that you're also bringing that to them. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah, you reminded me, like, I wasn't even thinking about it.
Yeah.
But there's such a big difference to when I brought my cat home, and it's one cat, and even that was a lot for my mom to have to deal with. And now she loves her, but now she says, she's like, that's my favorite cat, and all the other cats are eh. Like, you take care of them, but that's the one that's mine, right?
They get
Which is
possessive.
crazy because back then she was like, no cats ever.
Yeah.
But now and even when I brought her home, she was like, my mom was also scared to touch. She was like afraid of animals because she just didn't have a lot of.
They didn't have the experience.
Yeah,
with pets
like she grew up in
that.
a city in Bangladesh and she didn't have a pet, so there wasn't a lot of people that she knew that had pets either.
Yeah.
Back then when she lived there, so she didn't have a lot of experience with animals in general.
Yeah.
So she was afraid. She was like, what if I get scratched? What if I get bit? And now, like,
They think they're going to die.
No, 100%.
Immediately.
it's like you've done so many things. You're like a whole adult. Like you're so brave, and you're scared of a tiny 10-pound cat. But when I brought my cat home, she was like, my cat would try to rub against her leg, and she'd like flinch. But now, my mom, who does like, she'll go to bed, and my cat will lay in bed with her. She'll lay on the couch, and my cat will come sit on her lap. She'll pray, and my cat will sit on the prayer mat in front of her.
Same.
Everything that my mom wants to do, my cat also wants to do. She's one of her favorite people. And then also like letting me foster multiple cats at a time. They are loud sometimes. They have like, you know, medical conditions and stuff like that.
Never ending diarrhea.
Oh, definitely. So many times. The smells. Oh my God. The
glamour,
cleaning
the glamour
supplies.
being a
glamour of
foster.
it
All of the
all.
garbage. Oh my God. Bags and bags of trash that I have to throw out of litter and cleaning supplies and all that kind of stuff. And then also the holding space where I have to have traps, like a dozen sometimes, of cats. Where she doesn't even like cats, but she's letting me do all that.
Yeah, she likes them.
Yeah, yeah. She's
I can give it up
recommended
by now.
I
Yeah.
also feed a colony of cats in my backyard, and when I'm not home, she feeds the cats.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Hey, your cat is meowing. I'm gonna go give it food." Or like when
Yeah.
I don't remember to refill the bowl, she'll refill the bowl. She'll give them water. Like,
And I think it's important to like call out, right?
Yes.
Just because the care doesn't look the same as what people are used to, it doesn't mean that they don't care
Yeah.
about the lives of the animals.
you don't have to
right?
be like outwardly lovey-dovey to, you know,
to show
care about
respect and care
animals.
about an
Yes.
animal. Yeah. I love that. And I love the fact that you said that the cat will go on the prayer mat
Yes.
too.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
in a lot of cultures, cats are divine,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
There is like a spiritual connection and even a portal to the other lives and just so much about cats that are divine. So I wanted to, Victoria, when I said, is there a story or a comment? The first thing you said was, like you had one. So what's one story or comment from a neighbor that stuck with you, has stuck with you, that reminded you of your purpose?
It's more the feeling that I get, like when I go home
How do you
every
feel?
day and I see my own cat.
What is the
And
feeling?
I feel like, gosh, he's so warm and cozy and loved, and I'm so grateful that I have him. And I feel so sad when I think about all the other animals that are out there that don't have what he has. It just makes me want to run out and help them all.
This is your
I could tear
calling.
up talking about it.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah,
It's my calling.
it's your calling. And I feel that. That's amazing. Okay, we're going to cry.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, a
It's
long
beautiful.
time ago, people did not know what they know now about cats. I've been around a little bit longer than these two.
Yeah. Babies.
A few years.
Babies.
But that's also our strength, you know?
So
Young blood.
those two cats that were the beginning of my cat journey when I was 7, we ended up being able to take home at the time I lived in the Bronx. And I begged and pleaded with my parents. My father was easy, but my mom took some convincing, and she finally relented and said, yeah, sure, we can take the cats home. There were kittens at the time, and within a few months, it was a girl and a boy, Fuzzy, the girl cat, went into heat. I didn't know that's what she was experiencing, and evidently neither did my parents. We knew nothing about cats. They knew nothing about cats, and my mom found it intolerable and demanded that we get rid of her.
Yeah, and for those that don't know the behavior of a cat in heat, they go crazy.
They do. They go crazy.
Yeah.
To this day, I cry when I think about it because I was just devastated having to bring Fuzzy to ACC. Driving in the car with my dad with Fuzzy in a cardboard box, it killed me.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably one of the other driving forces for me to educate people to make sure that that doesn't happen to cats that they bring to their homes, but it does very, very often. I mean,
I was just
we
gonna-
we
yeah.
rescue so many formerly indoor cats. Clearly they were socialized, clearly they were being taken care of, but people dump them because they don't understand behaviors because they're unfixed, or they do understand it's because they're unfixed and they can't afford to get them fixed.
Yeah, that's tough.
I didn't know this story, Victoria. I feel like you have
It's
like
really difficult to
you've
talk
got
about.
Thank you for sharing that. I feel like you personally have like a lived experience of what we're trying to prevent.
Exactly.
And I think it just makes, you know, this mission so much stronger and more authentic. While LIC Feral Feeders, you know, has its roots in Long Island City in Western Queens, we have been lucky enough to have the support of both volunteers. We won our first grants this year.
Yay,
And through that type of, you know, support, we've been able to help community cats in areas like Raiana's. Jamaica is so different from Long Island City, where it's a lot more of a residential area, a lot more big backyards for cats to, you know, populate in. And unlike LIC Astoria, where there are a handful of both independent rescuers and TNR certified professionals and rescue groups, I would say there are areas like Jamaica, Queens, where you've got these heavily overpopulated colonies, but the supply for like, you know, rescuers and trappers to help these cats out just isn't there. So if we've got the opportunity and the capacity to help, of course we will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I completely understand why you would want to focus and finish and then
So
expand.
anyone out there in Jamaica who wants to learn TNR,
Please join us.
and has a space for a little shed
And
in
a
your
car.
backyard,
We need
just
you.
contact us. We'll
Yeah.
teach you.
Within 5 blocks of my house, there is 5 colonies that have 10 to 20 plus cats each.
Wow.
And that's right now the stable number after they've all been TNR. But that before, they were half of them were female and having kittens every year. So it was quadrupling. So it's like so many cats. Every day there's a new one that shows up. So
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys for giving us this information today. And, I hope that listeners, viewers, I hope you guys are blessed with money, with volunteers, with a sanctuary, right? More money, all of that. And thank you guys so much for the work that you guys do. I mean, even this is a volunteer experience, just sharing the story. So I know it's a lot of hours. And I just hope that you guys are blessed unconditionally. And you guys get to keep doing more of the good work, and not just with the cats in the community, but also connecting with the people as well. I think that is so, so important. And building that trust and building those relationships so that it becomes more of a collective and we're all on the same page doing the same work so that we can save more animals. So I appreciate you guys being on the Critters and Cultures podcast today in New York City.
Yeah.
Thank you so, so, so much.
Thank you.
so
We
much for having
appreciate
us.
you having us here.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
absolutely. All right. Well, that's a wrap.
Yeah.